Hey friends, welcome to your Thursday Daily Dub. It's not Thursday for me. I'm filming this actually a couple days ahead of time. I am on vacation and hopefully right now I'm doing a whole lot of nothing. But I wasn't going to release anything after Wednesday, and I may not put anything out Friday or Saturday. But there's another thing of interest to me from the business sphere that has happened this week that's timely. I thought we'd talk about, and that is the nature of streaming media, streaming content. And this is not going to get into like rights, streaming rights, which is a whole other business conversation on how digital rights, streaming rights will disappear, and something you purchase digital only could go away out of your collection. That's a whole other conversation. This is more about compression. And it's in light of the recent episode of Game of Thrones, Season 8, Episode 3, The Long Night, which caused quite a stir online, and people started to realize things they maybe had never known about streaming media. And to be honest, I did not realize the size and scope of what could happen to this. So let's talk a little bit about what happens. With streaming media, and I'm just going to talk about me with YouTube. It doesn't have to be streaming. It can just be digital media. It doesn't have to be a live stream. It's just streaming to you from a database somewhere. I record my Dub Life episodes entirely in 4K. They're in 4K. If you looked at them on my big monitor that I edit on, you can zoom all the way in and it's crystal clear. That's the way I record them. When I upload it to YouTube, or when I take the source files, the original files are all in 4K. I edit it, I create one new file. I put it in one 4K. I do not compress that file. It's huge. It's often like a 2-hour episode of Dub Life will be like 40 gigs. It's a very big file. I upload that to YouTube. YouTube takes the upload and then it enters a thing called processing. And what it's doing is preparing it to be viewed by all the different devices on all the different bandwidths of internet, aspect ratios, quality, whatever that people want. It's doing compression methods. It's dealing with codecs. It's dealing with all those things that they do for you. One of the reasons that they're making more money than you are, because they're handling all the infrastructure. You don't have to worry about it. If you wanted to host it on your own website, you'd have to deal with that yourself, and you'd spend a lot of money doing that. So YouTube is doing that for you. When I upload a video, as soon as, if I upload it and it's done processing, I press publish. I typically don't. I typically schedule it for later. If I click publish and you immediately watch it, you will not see a 4K feed of my video. You just won't see it. You'll see a very grainy, probably 480 or worse version of my video, because the compression has not run across every possible instance, and they're not ready to serve that 40 gig file out to you. They're just not ready. The infrastructure's not ready. Then a couple hours it usually will be. People have had it happen. I have had it happen where somehow the compression gets stuck and your video gets locked at something. To me, it happened, I think, at 480, maybe even 360p. And everybody complained about the quality of my video. I couldn't do anything about that. And they were complaining to me, the filmmaker, saying, why'd you film such crappy quality? It's too grainy. I can't see it. It's too quiet. There's a pool and spa van just going back and forth on an actual road, jamming out with some music. I don't know what's happening. And there's nothing I can do about that. I filmed it in the right quality. It looked good when I edited it. But the people that are serving it, it got messed up in compression. I tell you that because that happened to me. That's a real life thing that happened to me. So now we fast forward and we talk about the most recent Game of Thrones episode. Victoria and I watched it, loved it, thought the episode was great. I'm not going to spoil anything from the episode. If you ever plan to watch it, you won't get spoiled here. But it is a very, it's a night episode about the bringing of the long night, and they make very careful use of lighting. Very professionally, skillfully done. We had no issue with it. None. Like, we just enjoy the episode. The next day, I look at social media, and there's all these people complaining about it's too dark, I can't see anything, I can't see anything that's happening at all. And there's pictures of just all black screens and things like that. And I looked at them like, I don't understand. Like, I didn't see that. Yes, the episode is shot dimly lit. It's shot dark for impact, for meaning. But I could see everything I needed to see. And so I wondered what was happening. And I started to research some, and then more articles started to pop up. And what it looks like has happened is the producers of Game of Thrones, here's my raw file. They've edited it just like I did. The way I handed it to YouTube, they handed it to HBO. Here you go, HBO. You now have to deal with distributing those. So HBO is like the first pass, and they get it ready to air to all of their partners. All the cable companies, Amazon, PlayStation Vue, DirecTV Now, all the streaming platforms that are over the top, as well as HBO Go, HBO Now, all of the different ways that has to go. They have to compress it in a way, and they may be compressing it in different ways for different feeds to send it to all those outlets, because the file would be too big. I can't imagine, because they're shooting in much higher in 4K, and the thing is a much longer episode, much more detail, mini shots, angles, cameras, all of that. So who knows how big that file is. And they prepare it. So then they send it away. Then what happens, depending on who you use, that company has to compress it again. So you think about this. If I am Comcast, and I get this file from HBO that I need to send out to you, but I also have to send out all these other channels at the same time because I don't know who's watching what when, I put my own compression on it. So I shrink it again. I minimize it again. I am touching that file. I'm impacting that file to make it smaller and easier to distribute. That's what's happening. Think about it that way. And then, potentially, depending on the device that you're watching it on, is it coming straight to your TV? Is it going through a cable box? Is it going through a Xbox or a PlayStation or a Roku or an Apple TV or Amazon Fire or your phone or whatever? That device may also have to do something to it to make it presentable to you. So what we have in essence is the old telephone game, right? The telephone game we played as kids, where one person tells another, tells another, tells another, tells another, and then the recipient goes back to the originator and says, hey, I heard this, and they're like, that is not what I sent at all. And I think that's what happened here, is a form of the telephone game, and because every time they compressed what is already a dimly lit for impact show, it got darker and harder to see, and darker and harder to see, and darker and harder to see. And depending on how many instances of the telephone game you had happen on your desired feed, you may not be able to see it. Then you combine that with, not everybody has a modern TV. The TV upgrade cycle is way different than anything else. Most people keep their TV 10, 15 years. Whereas you keep your phone a couple years. Some people replace their phone every year like I do. Some people replace every 2 or 3 years. Most people replace their tablet every 2, 3, 4 years. But the TV is not upgraded nearly that often. However, technology is still improving every year. TVs are better this year than they were this time last year. Cameras are better. The way they're filming stuff is better. So they're filming at the highest level of stuff, but you have a TV that's 10 years old. That's going to have an impact too. Also, most people don't ever adjust their TV settings. They just, the way it came from the store is the way it is, and they never change it. Well, things like this you need to set up. If your TV has high dynamic range, did you turn it on? Are you running a 4K TV? If so, do you have the appropriate HDMI cable? Do you have an actual 4K feed? Game of Thrones currently is not fed in 4K. The only way you can watch it in 4K is to get the Blu-rays after the fact, 4K after the fact. Nobody streams it in 4K. So all of those things have an impact. So I go back and I think about how Victoria and I watch it. We're not at my house. We're at the condo with everybody. I have this iPad, which is the newest iPad, which is a big, beefy processor, can uncompress, can move really fast, can render and edit video as faster than any device I own. We had a USB-C to HDMI cable, USB-C, the most modern protocol in cable exchange. So our cable was brand new. We had just bought it for this, and it's fast. It moved the video fast to the TV. Their TV here, they recently replaced like 2 years ago, so it's a pretty modern TV. And I think about that and I go, oh, maybe that's why we didn't have any problem watching it, because all the equipment we were using was modern, and we were watching it on HBO Now. We were watching it direct from HBO. It didn't have to pass through PlayStation Vue or a cable box or something like that. So we actually reduced 2 of the telephone games in that aspect. And I think that benefited us. So it's just interesting to think about that, because I don't know that the age of streaming media is an age of convenience. We don't want to have to get up and change the Blu-ray disc. We don't want to have to flip through all these channels or wait for our favorite thing to come on. We want to watch what we want to watch when we want to watch it. And I don't know that everybody had thought about what happens when technology outpaces the speed at which we upgrade our devices. Should we be upgrading our HDMI cables yearly? Should we be upgrading our TVs yearly? Is that the only way to get the best possible feed? The other culprit in this is internet speed. If you don't have good internet, and I don't mean, I've got 12 download and 6 upload. I mean, are you pushing gigabit? I have gigabit at home. You're eventually going to be impacted by this too. Your internet speed just won't be able to handle it. It won't be able to receive the files. So you're going to buffer a lot. It's going to be choppy. You're not going to be able to see as well. And none of that ever happens on physical media because it's a direct feed. So I think it was interesting that maybe for the first time people realized in mass, right, large scale across the country, oh, what exactly we did trade off to move to the streaming world, the digital world. And it hit everybody all at once. I was watching Game of Thrones, realized, oh man, my TV isn't good. I don't have a good setup. My internet's not good enough for this. And of course, everybody wants to blame the cinematographers, the filmmakers, and say, well, they're obviously novices and have no idea what we're doing. Okay, the biggest movie in the world, the episode that's the longest episode, the biggest battle scene of all time, and cost however many hundreds of millions of dollars. They don't know what they're doing. Come on. And you do, sitting on your couch. I mean, give me a break. It's just obvious that a lot of things happened, a perfect storm of events to certain people. And I just thought that was worth talking about. I don't really have a comment on it necessarily other than, I guess people are figuring that out. I mean, and I had never even thought about it. I have a new TV, but my TV now I've bought, it's 4 years old. And I wasn't planning on replacing that anytime soon. Not until the like the OLED, the 8K OLEDs come down in price, which is going to be like 5 or 6 years. So maybe I'll change my mind about that. I don't know. But something to think about with the Disney Plus streaming service coming on, and everybody's like, yes, I can't wait. I want to watch The Mandalorian or some of these Marvel things. And you're going to be expecting something that you see on the big screen with a direct feed. And then you come home and you go, man, The Mandalorian doesn't look like it has very good effects, blah, blah, blah. And it might be because of your setup. It might be because of the compression methods. I don't know. I know Apple, with their new streaming TV service, has promised the highest possible compression with the most direct feed. That's one of the things they're selling. I pay for a higher, they just raised the price of $15.99 with Netflix to get their highest 4K, highest compression, best feeds to not be blurry. But again, it's death by $9.99 and death by $14.99. It's not the greatest thing. So anyway, I'd like your thoughts. If you watched Game of Thrones, did you have this problem? And if not, what is your setup? If you did, what's your setup? I mean, just interesting about that. But remember, they were also being very clever with lighting. Like the first main scene where it goes completely dark, it's supposed to go completely dark because the extinguishing of the flames was the story. That was the story. You weren't supposed to see what happened. But then there's other areas that people showed that doesn't look like the dragon fights. We had no problem seeing dragon fights. So, I don't know. Anyway, I hope you have a great Thursday. It's almost the weekend. I'll talk to you soon. Squeeze it.